but do your networking. Try to get to know the leaders, always ask for feedback, that the networking is key. I didn't know that before, but I think it's one of the most important advices I would tell anyone, who wants to be successful, because it's not enough. And anyone, if anyone says that only delivering you're gonna get promotions, it's bullshit. It's not true. You gotta deliver, of course, but you gotta know the people. You gotta be known. You gotta have friends and have people that are gonna want to help you as well. Because delivering, yeah, but probably nobody knows about what you're delivering. In sales, it's very evident, probably, no, in sales, but in other positions, for example, if you don't sell your work, no one's gonna know about it.
Welcome to the Chemical Engineering Guys podcast, a show in which we share stories and tips from chemical and process engineers. We talk about student and professional life, as well as important aspects of products, processes, industries, and companies. But more importantly, what are the paths that these unique individuals are taking in this ever-changing world? Let's get started. Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome once again to the podcast. This time I have Gerardo Moreno, which is one of my best friends back from university. We studied a lot, we suffered a lot while doing some heat transfer problems and other subjects. And well, I'm really happy to have him in the show. And Gerardo, can you introduce yourself? Because I think that you are the best person to do so.
Right. Well, hello everyone. First time doing a podcast, so don't mind if I sound a little bit, I don't know, like amateur. But my name is Gerardo Moreno, like Emma said. I'm 30 years old. I'm originally from a city here in Mexico called Cuernavaca, but I studied chemical engineering in Monterrey, in Tec de Monterrey, campus Monterrey. Went abroad to France for a year, then came back, um, and now I'm working in sales in PepsiCo company, in specifically in PepsiCo Foods, working in the commercial team, um, and that's basically it.
That's nice, Gerardo. I'm happy to have you here because you have a very interesting curriculum because you have been in not only PepsiCo but also in Heineken, which are, I think, one of the global large chemical companies. Well, not chemical companies, but companies that will employ chemical engineers. So, food and beverage industry and the beer industry. So, Gerardo, let's go back from the beginning. And first things first, why chemical engineering? So you were in high school, and did you already know that you wanted to go to chemical engineering, or were you wondering whether you should go to engineering or chemistry, or I don't know? Let us know.
From the beginning of high school, I knew that I wanted to go to some like engineering, no, to a career with engineering, because I was always good in math. I liked physics. I liked chemistry. So I was like, okay, I'm good at it. So I think the wisest thing to do is to study something in the engineering area, no, and then towards the end of high school, I started like everyone. No, I started like looking up into, okay, what is that engineering thing that I'm gonna study. And actually, it was one of my high school advisors. I was in Tec de Monterrey back then, in high school from Tec de Monterrey in Cuernavaca, and one of the advisors, she actually told me. I remember very good. She told me, "Why don't you look up at this? Why don't you look at this career, chemical engineering?" And I said, "Like, okay." And like everyone in the world, I was like, chemical engineering. That sounds like a chemist, like very like laboratory and stuff, like going into a lab. But then she told me, "No, no, no. There's this article that I read, and a lot of CEOs in the world, a lot of different leaders in the world are chemical engineers, because it's a career that gives you a way of attacking or structuring problems, and that shape the way you think in a certain way that has been studied. And it's very, very interesting. So I read the article. I went through the syllabus of the career, and it was very interesting. I saw things that were challenging, no, that sounded very challenging, like when you say a heat transfer or mass transfer or whatever the subject was. And I've always liked challenges, so I thought, yeah, this sounds like a difficult career. And with these things that I've read about the career helping me, being a successful person in the future. So yeah, I want to go. I want to go and study chemical engineering. That's why.
Okay, that's great to hear. I will like to share this part. Whenever I interview chemical engineers, I will say 80 to 90%, I will include myself as well, say that they went to chemical engineering because they were good at math, physics, they like chemistry, and they wanted to explore an engineering. So I think it's very straightforward the path that you need to take. And I also get the same idea as you in high school, that chemical engineers were going to be working with glassware and in the lab and with lab coats. But I remember going into this little tour to the, let's say, chemical engineering lab, and I saw a lot of steel and machines. And instantly I got this idea like, wow, this is industry, this is large scale, this is chemical bulks. It's not playing with a small glassware and so I really like focus into chemical engineering a lot. So I get that as well. So Gerardo, and I know that Cuernavaca is pretty near to Mexico City, which is well, the capital of Mexico, and it has a lot of universities. And I know there are many engineering degrees offering chemical engineering. So why would you go? Because I don't think it's that usual. Go from Cuernavaca, which is almost 1 hour and a half far away from Mexico City. Why would you go to Monterrey, which is, well, by car, I think it's almost like 10, 12 hours. So why did you selected that?
Yeah, it's interesting. Yes, because like you said, most of my friends from high school, they went to Mexico City, no, for university, because it's the biggest city in the country, with top universities in Mexico. So what made me go to Monterrey was basically because I was studying back then, like I told you, in Tec de Monterrey, no, which has high schools and university. And I like the system. I like the way they handled education. To say it in a certain way. I liked everything about going to school in Tec de Monterrey. No, I liked it very much. So I was like, I wanna stay here. No, and when I decided to study chemical engineering, back then, because now I think other campuses have that career. Back then, the only campus in Mexico with chemical engineering as a career, as a complete, full career in the Tec de Monterrey system, was in Monterrey. No, the headquarters, or I don't know how to say, like the central campus, no, the principal campus. So I decided to, okay, so I want to stay in the system, and I want to study chemical engineering. So that leads me to Monterrey. I actually, if you ask me, I didn't go through that much of thinking back then. It was for me like I'm telling you, no, it was like, okay, I want chemical engineering. Okay, I want to stay in the Tec de Monterrey system, and I wanna. So that leads me to go to Monterrey. I didn't think it through that much, but of course it was a very, very big step, because I was only 17 back then, and that implied me to go and move by myself to Monterrey. And another good thing is that I got a scholarship, a full scholarship. It was it's called a Gallagher scholarship because of the person that owned this scholarship in the U.S. and they gave me the scholarship which had or which gave me 100% of tuition fees and money for my apartment, money for my for eating, no, for my food and everything in while we studied. So it was also a thing that made me okay. Let's go to Monterrey.
Okay, I love it because back then it was easier to make decisions or life changing decisions.
Exactly.
But yeah, I get it. I get it. Now let's talk about the, like, let's say, the actual study. What did you like about chemical engineering? Was it what you expected, or did you got into subjects that you wouldn't ever thought about back in high school?
Like of course, everything relating to or related to thermodynamics, I was expecting it. Thermodynamics itself, heat transfer or
Energy
energy
balances,
balances, yeah, mass balances, everything.
reactor engineering.
Reaction that yeah, all that I expected. I think the only one of the subjects that like was very shocking to me was a equilibrium thermodynamics. Is it in English?
Also known as physical chemistry or advanced physical chemistry.
Yeah, because it was so like, yeah, thermodynamics, but very like
Abstract.
abstract. Exactly, very abstract. So like I remember studying for for my first exam, and at one point I was like, okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing, but like, what the is this, like what is it, no, about, you remember fugacidad, you know uh,
Yeah, fugacity and
fugacity,
efficiency,
yeah,
activity.
yeah. And I remember like, like thinking to myself like, what the f is this, like, what is this and why do I need to know this, like, when am I gonna use this,
Exactly.
you know but I think that's I think that subject that I remember. Also, transfer phenomena, which was a little bit abstract, but I liked that abstract because in the end there was something, like I
Application.
yeah, some application, and I understood like, okay, where it came from. But yeah, the other one was
I like that subject because it's when you push the limits of logic and your imagination. So it's kind of interesting how your brain should be able to solve complex problems without you being able to, like, make sense of them.
exactly understanding like, okay, yeah, I know how to solve the problem, or I know like, yeah, but then, what what then, what, like, yeah.
I get it. Yeah. Gerardo, I know that you went. What did you do it first? Your internship or your exchange to France?
My
Okay,
exchange.
let's talk about then to regarding to your exchange. Why did you went to France? Probably because you started studying French, or you always wanted to go to France.
No, when I was in middle school, I started getting French in my middle school. They taught French in middle school. So when I started learning French, I liked it a lot. I loved the language very much, and I talked to my mom back then, and I was like, I liked it so much. I want to study, like I really study French, not like the French they give you in in middle school, because
Yeah,
the French they give you in middle school and in high school is probably like the English they teach in public schools here in Mexico, or something like that. That is like very very basic, no. So I went to the Alliance Française, I don't know in English, probably a big school that teaches French here in Mexico and around the world, and I studied for 3 years, 3 or 4 years. So I was very fluent in French. I got pretty much till the end of the courses, of the levels to the last level they taught in that school. And then when I went to Monterrey and started chemical engineering, you must remember everyone wanted to go to Germany, because there was this program, the DAAD program, and chemical engineering, and of course Germany. It makes total sense. Very engineering country, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's go and let's try now German, no? So I started studying German because I said, okay, maybe I wanna go to Germany. And when the date came, it was very funny because when the date came of the decision, you remember that semester when you have to put up your choices. Uh,
Exactly.
I remember saying, no, I don't like I don't want to go to Germany. Like, no, I don't like it as much as I like France. As I like, the language. No, I want to go to France. So it was like a semester before going to France that I decided, okay, it's France. And I listed my options. My first one was in France. My second one was in Switzerland, I think, and my third one was in France as well. And I ended up on my first choice, which was in France.
Rowan.
It's called Rouen. In English, I think it's Rouen. It's Normandy. It's Normandy in France, northern of Paris.
How was it to study there? How was the crash between the Mexican system and the French system?
It was I consider myself like a smart person, and it was funny because uh, not so many difference, about the system, but they thought, like, instantly when they saw me and they thought I was Mexican, they thought, okay, no, he probably doesn't know anything, they never wanted me in any in any team with the French guys. They didn't want me with them, but when they started, like, noticing that I actually knew probably more than they did, or that I was a fast learner, they were like shocked, because how could a Mexican, be intelligent or smart, or could know French so well, because actually all my courses were in French. So it was not only like learning. For example, I remember, transfer phenomena over there. It was learning transfer phenomena in French, like, it was
Yeah, double trouble.
double trouble, exactly. But it was, break the stereotype I think they have of probably Latin American people in general being not at the same level as them, as French people.
Okay, that's nice to hear that you show the, I don't know how to say it in English, but that you show them how Mexicans study here. And what else? What do you think about the, maybe I think it's similar as in Germany, that they don't care that much if you go or if you do work, but you have one last or final exam which it's very heavy on the final score. So what do you think about that? Is it similar there?
Yes, it was the same. We only, in most of them, I think all of them, yeah, all of my classes, all of my courses, it was that way. No, just, the classes and one final exam. The only difference was, from what I remember, in with the Germans, or with the Mexican people that went to Germany, like you did, is like, they cared about the assistants, because I remember, in, like you told me, in Germany you could not go to any class, and just go to the final exam. And for us, it was not that way. We had, actually, I think it was one or two absences for the whole semester,
Hmm.
and it was accounted for. You could not, if you didn't go to classes for two or three, I don't know, it was probably three times, you would fail the course. So that's the
Okay.
only difference. But apart from that, yeah, it was everything based on the final exam.
And you went to study 2 semesters?
2 semesters, yeah, 2 semesters.
let us know more on, let's say, the French life for an engineer, or how
Mm.
maybe compare with your fellow students. How do you think, or what's the main goal of French? Are they willing to go to the industry and factories,
Yes.
or do they want to go to business and offices?
I think and I also learned it afterwards, but I learned that different from like the profile, for example, was very like engineers, you know? Like they were really truly people, students, young people that wanted to become engineers and go to work at a factory, at a pharmaceutical, a plant or whatever, no? They were really focused on studying chemical engineering to become process engineers in a plant, or a lot wanted to go to because of course they're big in nuclear energy, so they wanted to go and afterwards after chemical engineering and study nuclear energy. So yeah, I think that was very different from Mexico, from here in Mexico, because here in Mexico, even the profile of the people, yeah, there were the people that you knew that would end up, being an engineer in a plant, but also a lot of people that you knew they were not gonna be in a plant never,
They
no?
don't. Yeah, I get it. Yeah, the typical profile that you will not
Yeah,
stand one shift in a
exactly.
actual factory.
Exactly. Yeah, and over there, no, no, no. And over there, I think everything, or everyone, sorry, wanted to go to a plant, and they were very focused. Actually, all the syllabus courses were very like chemical engineer, like
Like hardcore.
hardcore. Yeah, like thermodynamics 1 through 7, and like a lot of chemistry also. That was a big difference with Tec de Monterrey. You remember we had like, I think it was five, no, five
Yeah, very.
chemical chemistry classes, and over there were a lot, like organic chemistry 1 to 3, inorganic chemistry 1 to 3, and and like a lot of like technical, really technical courses. So that was also very different, but I think it's because mainly in France, at least, maybe it's the same way in Germany, they are very like focused, or I don't know, like to become a successful, for example, a successful chemical engineer, or a plant lead, you have to be a chemical engineer, and you have to have studied chemical engineering, and you have to have done a master's in chemical engineering. So they're very like, you study what you work for.
Yeah, yeah, very like the path is very well written and with instructions. So you need to become junior engineer, then you become a senior engineer, and then you get to the, let's say, the operational management of the plant, and you need to do your master degree, and then you need to. Yeah, I get it. In Germany, it's pretty similar. That it's very strange to see other non-chemie in like process engineering.
Yes, I think they're in general in Europe, they're more like, I don't know how to say, they don't like this probably person that is like versatile, like they don't believe in a chemical engineering working in sales, or or an economist working in HR, or an industrial engineer working in finance. No, for them it's like, if you study chemical engineering, you're gonna work in chemical engineering.
Yeah, yeah, more square minded.
Yeah.
Okay, so Gerardo, that was your internship, and I know that you were of the only few that graduated in 9 semesters,
Yes.
which typically is very hard to achieve because when you go abroad, typically you will not get all the subjects or courses accredited back home. So you also did an internship, and it was in Nemak, which is one of the largest companies on aluminum and motor heads. So let us know, why did you want it? First, why going for an internship in your last semester, and second, why Nemak?
First of all, I had like my path, or the yeah, the way I wanted to handle my time in the university was like pretty much straightforward. Ever since I got to Monterrey, I knew that I wanted to go abroad in an exchange in the 7th and the 8th semester. And for example, I did all the summers. so I could, graduate in 9 semesters, and I could leave my final semester, the ninth semester, with only 3 or 4 courses. I had time to go to an internship, because I thought, okay, I want to go abroad. I want to do an internship right before I graduate. So that helps me get a better job. So when I came back, even when I was still in France, I started looking for internships. And back then, actually, I wanted to study chemical engineering. One of the possibilities I always liked was like sustainability issues, like the typical, EHS or environmental engineering in general. So that was one of the things I was looking for when I was looking for an internship. And in Nemak, which I knew was a big company, which I knew people that went and had internships there, and they were happy. I saw an EHS, like internship there, and I was like, okay. I applied actually there, Cemex. I don't remember the other one, and this was the first that accepted me, and I was like, okay. And then at the same time, one of my roommates and best friends also, Mejia. I don't know if he's gonna be ever in the podcast. Probably yes, but he got an internship there as well. So he was like, okay, super cool. He had a car, we could go together, like go and do the same time over there, because it was very far away. It was outside of the city, actually, the plant. So that why I ended up in Nemak.
And what did you were doing in the real actual job? Because EHS sounds very interesting, but I do had an internship on the same in John Deere, and it was only following up with reports, not that much into actual environment stuff. So let me know what's your thought.
Literally, like you said it. Because of course I thought, yeah, I want to do like environmental stuff, and all I had to do was paperwork, because of course of it's a very big plant. Actually, there were 5 plants in one, like five, I don't know, 5 separate, like naves, I don't know how to say it, like,
Like warehouses.
yeah, 5 separate warehouses. So it was a very huge plant with a lot of emissions, gas emissions, with a lot of
Hmm.
of, of residuals, and with a lot of things or paperwork to do and to check. And that was basically it. All I did was verify, the levels at some, some parts of the warehouses, and file paperwork to, comply with the
The Mexican law norms.
with the Mexican law, with the norms and stuff. Yeah, but that was basically it.
But at the moment, did you enjoy it, or was it indifferent for you?
At the moment, yeah, at the moment I'd enjoy it, because it was actually my first, like, internship. I did an internship before, but in Tec de Monterrey before I went abroad. But it was a very small internship, and it was not really work. So I was happy and excited, because it was my first real experience, like, working. So I was more excited for that part than for the actual job, and for me it was just like a, and actually that's true, but it was actually like just my way into having something in my resume. When I graduated, I knew I had to had something, you know and I knew it was more about how you sell that position, that internship, than what you actually did. So I was very, like, at a young age, I was clear about that.
Yeah, that's a very great strategy to have at least one internship, especially if you get it in a renowned company or the job title is great. That will help for the first job. So, talking about your first job, Gerardo, did you think this internship helped?
Yes, definitely, definitely. First of all, it helped me because when I was about to graduate, they offered me in Nemak 3 positions, and one of them was very interesting. It was in like strategic planning or something like that. It was very, very interesting. So it helped me because of that, of course, to get my first job there if I wanted to. but also, like I told you, to have something on your resume that you could sell as, for example, being a challenge for me, because it was a challenge. I think it was one of the most busy times in my career that I had, because actually I was going into work at 7. I started at 7 a.m., 7 a.m. in the morning till 3, then go to class, and then do homework, like sleep at probably 11, 12, and wake up early because you had to go to work. So it gave me also a story to tell, about about hard work, about something challenging, to be able to sell to other companies that eventually helped me land my first job in Heineken, which was something that I wanted in back then.
Okay, yeah, I think it's way easier to share a story, and it also lets the recruiter or your boss or your teammates to know that you have been working and that you're a, let's say, a normal person that can fit into the normal day-to-day work. So that getting that internship, at least one, two recommended, is great to get your first job.
Yeah.
Now, talking about first jobs, Gerardo, let us know, why did you selected Heineken instead of Nemak, or were you
Yeah.
looking for, or did you got another offer directly?
Actually, I got yeah, at Nemak, Heineken, and actually PepsiCo offered me one, but it was freeze. The position was freeze, and they ended up like making me an offer like 3 months afterwards. And probably we're gonna talk about that later. But actually, back then, I don't know if it's the same way now, no. But trainee programs were very, very in back then.
Yeah,
Yeah, everybody wanted to go in a trainee, and me as well, because a trainee sounded like a great opportunity for your first job, to get to know different areas, like the real world, the real work, or yeah, the real world in working, in the working positions. So it offered a great opportunity for people who didn't know what exactly to do, because that's true. When I was about to graduate, I didn't know if I wanted to continue in EHS. I was disappointed when I got that internship, so that was helpful. I didn't want to continue in EHS, but I didn't know if I wanted to go to like process engineering itself, or any other area,
mhm.
to be honest. So the position in Nemak was interesting, about it was strategic planning, like I told you. Very, very interesting, and very high fashion, I would say. But the other one was a trainee, and it offered me, traveling actually between the different plants, Heineken plants. It was an operations trainee, so it offered me the opportunity to also be traveling a lot and back. And I don't know if it's a trend, but I talk with people a lot, and they think the same, that when you graduate and they tell you you have to travel for work, is like, oh my god, that's so
Yeah, it's a
fancy.
plus.
It's always a plus, no? Like, of course, yeah, it's very fancy, like having to travel for work, and
Yeah, I think especially between before your 30s, traveling is not that much of an issue. Of course, depends how intense you travel. Because last day I was talking with Jose Luis, and he was telling me how he enjoyed the first year, and then the second and third year he was just suffering. Like he couldn't do anything on his, let's say, personal life. He couldn't commit to a class or to sports or exercise because he was always traveling. So it's an interesting issue. Maybe you can share more on. Well, no, before going to that, let us know how you got into Heineken and to the trainee. How did they treated you, and what was
yeah.
the main things you were doing?
And okay, getting into the trainee program was very, very cool. Actually, they gave me a good offer, a good economical offer, and they treated us as, as the future leaders of Heineken. They were treating us that way, always literally talking to the VPs, the plant directors, or the purchasing VP, or the whatever, no, HRVP, and the CEO. It was very, very, with a lot of, I don't know how you say, like a lot of showing off, or a lot of branding,
Spotlight.
a lot of the spotlight, exactly, a lot of spotlight. So I like that a lot, but also that put a that yeah, that was a lot of pressure putting on us to deliver. So my first assignment was in Orizaba, Veracruz, which is a very, very small little town in Veracruz, no, in Mexico, with one of the biggest plants of Heineken in the world.
What was produced there? What type of beer?
Lager and Oscura. Yes, yeah,
Yeah,
both
yeah.
dark and light beer. But it was a very, very big plant. It was actually, apart from Monterrey, the only other plant that could produce Heineken. Heineken, the
The
Heineken
brand.
beer, yeah, the brand. And so I went there, and I was there 6 months with different projects. There, then Toluca, which is another, let me say, ugly city. And then yes, it's a quite ugly city, like, to be honest. And then Monterrey, finally. That was the last my last assignment. This was a trainee that lasted 1 year and a half, with 3 6 month stop
Rotations.
rotations. Yeah.
Okay, and the things you were doing were always into operation management, or sometimes were you going into maintenance, other times into people management, or how was the structure of the program?
Always, yeah, always either engineer, but there were engineering projects, or also like process projects, like literally like optimizing some process, how to, reduce waste, or regarding the maintenance of some machinery. So yeah, it was something different, but always in the operations area. There were some projects about HR, but I was not assigned one. It was only engineering and in process. Engineering, I'm telling, normally engineering is maintenance, and the other is process. Process engineering. So basically, always one of those two.
After the trainee, did you wanted to stay in Heineken, or what was your mind? And also because the idea of the trainee, was it for them to send you wherever they wanted to, or was it to finish in Monterrey? What was the goal of the company, and of course your expectations?
No, the goal, it was always to that after this trainee, you would land a job, a very good job, not like the typical first job a recent graduate has. Um, but it was not granted to be in Monterrey, for example. It could be in Monterrey, or in
Orizaba.
Orizaba, or in Toluca, or one of the
I
other
think
plants.
Sonora has.
Yes, in Tecate, for example, some people were sent to Tecate in Baja California. Yeah, and Sonora in also. No, so
Okay.
so so you could be sent to either of the plants if you ended up in a real, like, plant position, or also if you were, for example, in a central operations team. It was based in Monterrey, no? But I was, as of my expectations, I wanted to stay in Monterrey. Back then, I was still in love with Monterrey. When I graduated, I was sure I didn't want to leave Monterrey. I During my career over there, I actually, I wouldn't say fall in love, but I grew fond of the city, And I
Mhm.
think when you study abroad, or when you study something somewhere else from your city that you were raised, you can kind of, have this special feeling always with that
Like a
city,
second home.
like a second home. Yeah, so I didn't want to leave at first, but then they assigned me to Toluca. My final position was in Toluca. Not my final position, sorry. After the trainee, my first, like, real position, like, with real responsibilities, was in Toluca.
What was the name of the job?
It was empacotecnia. It's like packaging in the packaging team. Like I was handling the from a technical point of view, the approval and development of new suppliers and new materials that were in touch with the beer. I'm
Okay.
telling you, like aluminum cans or glass
Plastic?
bottles.
No.
Glass bottles. No, we don't have plastic. We just have glass bottles
Aluminum,
and aluminum
glass.
cans. Only those.
Okay. And the barrel, or the barrel will not go?
No, 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 because that doesn't change because
It's only steel.
yeah, exactly. No, for example, I handled something as varnish. For example, changing a varnish in an aluminum can, or new, for example, new finishes. You don't remember? You remember, for example, Tecate? I was in the project when Tecate moved
Change to a
mate,
mate color.
mate. Yeah, exactly. That thing, like handling every, because that small those small changes had huge impacts, no, or could have huge impacts. For example, in the plant itself, or in the for example, we evaluated that it didn't affect the taste of the beer for when you change something inside the one varnish inside the aluminum can or the glass bottle, or those type of things. So it was empacotecnia, or a packaging in the packaging team, the packaging or new materials and development lead. That was the
Okay.
name.
And can you let us know another story on something that you did there?
For example, that story about Tecate was very interesting because at first it was a very fancy, very cool project. But then, literally, the first 2 weeks when we started getting those cans into the plant, into the process, the speed had to be like probably half for it to be able to run, because the mate kept the mate finish kept the cans always, like not flowing, sorry, the way they're supposed to flow
In the
in
band?
the bands, exactly. And a lot of things that you wouldn't expect, or when they were filled they would like be stuck. So it was a huge project that at the end, actually, for a while we went back to the normal finish, and study more about how we were gonna handle, the mate finish, because it's Tecate in Mexico. I don't know if everyone, all of your audience knows about Tecate, but Tecate is one the most drunk beer in here in Mexico. No, so it's not.
Really?
Yeah,
It's
it's
not
huge.
Modelo.
No, I'm from Heineken. I mean, I'm
Ah,
from
okay, okay,
Heineken.
okay.
Mhm. Mm. So it's not, you cannot afford to slow even a hundred or a tenth, the
Yeah.
line, because you lose a lot of money because of slowing it. So uh, yeah,
So
that was.
I don't know, Gerardo, did you know, or do you know at the moment, like since the moment that you packed the beer, how much time was it until someone drink it?
Probably a couple of months.
Oh, okay, okay.
Couple of months. Yeah.
So Gerardo, now let us know why or how did you manage to change to PepsiCo, which I think is the main core
Yeah.
or of the episodes. And we have been talking a lot, which is great. But let's go to PepsiCo, which is, I think, one of the most interesting parts of your curriculum.
Yeah, because up until now, I think it can be seen as a regular or a normal chemical
Process
engineering,
engineering, yeah.
yeah, chemical engineering person. And then let me tell you, and probably tell you about my mental state at the moment. So I was very, very happy, if you could say, with my job, because I was handling, my time. I never stayed late. I delivered very good results. My bosses were very happy with my deliveries, but I felt like there was something missing. Like it was quite like monotonous, if I could say so. Like very like, okay, like always not doing the same thing, but I knew in a way like what to expect from the job. And also I thought, or I was like, I don't know why. For example, no, what's the strategy behind this mate finish in the can? I didn't know anything, or I didn't know why. I didn't know why you had to change to a mate finish, or why were we developing something for this new beer. I didn't know anything about the company, about where it was going, and I was like, I saw myself, or I saw my job as just looking at a piece, or a small piece of the whole company.
Yeah, like a pawn. You were just following orders.
Exactly, exactly, exactly. Like that. I felt like that. I felt like I didn't know, like exactly why I was doing the stuff that I was doing. And I didn't know the strategy. And I've always been fond of strategy itself. You know. So I was like, this I don't like. So I started like investigating, asking friends. I started, of course, back then. I had 3 years of graduated, so a lot of uh, people from my university were working in different areas. So I started to do my research, no, on on what is really, for example, marketing. I had people in marketing. What is really sales? What is really finance? In the working
Environment.
environment, because no one ever tells you that when you study, and that's a huge mistake, I think. um, and so when I uh, started to know a little bit more about the commercial area sales, I was like, oh my god, this is a lot of what I like. Like, because it's strategy, it involves dealing with people, it involves a lot of the things that I like. Because when I was in the university, and they told me, or I saw a position in sales, I was like, no, I didn't study this hard to be in sales,
To be a salesman.
to be a salesman. Because in my mind, I was like, going to a person and selling them something, like going like asking for them to buy me, so to buy me
Yeah.
something. So in my head, sales was completely different. So I started, like I told doing my research, and I thought to myself, okay, sales is not what I thought it was. There's a lot of things going into sales. The salespeople are one of the two that actually runs the business. The strategy, for me, from my point of view now, the strategy and the wheels of a company, it's always in sales and marketing. Those are the two, like, main wheels that keep a company running. And I learned that, and I said, okay, I want to go to sales. I want actually, back then, I said I want to be a key account manager, because I learned about the position. I talked to a friend of mine that was a key account manager back then, and I said, yes, I want to be a key account manager. And of course, that was a huge decision, and a very difficult one, because being in operations, like, I said, like, who would want to hire a person from operations? But I said it's either now or never. I had been working in operations for 3 years, and I was like, I can still change my career way, my career path, but not much longer. You know, I said,
Yeah, it gotta be now or never.
exactly, now or never. Because yeah, you can do it. You can always do it, like they say, of course, but it's not gonna be as easy. So even for me back then, it was not easy. And it was funny because, like I told you, when I graduated, I got an offer from PepsiCo, and during that process of interviewing, I became friends with the person that was interviewing me. No, it was this girl, and I ran into her in one of my trips to Monterrey.
So she was the recruiter,
The
scouter.
recruiter, yeah, the recruiter.
Okay.
And
And you met her before you got the interview?
no, no, yeah, like when I was in, no, 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 during the interview or the recruiting process in PepsiCo when I graduated back then, when I had the offer from
Oh, okay,
Nemak.
okay, okay, okay. It's
Uh,
the same girl, the same person.
hmm
Okay.
And
When
so
your position was frozen.
exactly frozen,
Okay, okay,
exactly,
okay.
exactly. And then random, I ran into her in Monterrey, and she told me like, "Oh, Gerardo, how have you been? It's been a long time. Where are you now?" And I said, "Okay, I'm still in Heineken. I'm in Toluca right now, but I want to move. No, I want to go to the commercial team. I want to go to sales. I want to change my career, no? And I'm actually looking for it right now. I've talked to my boss about it, and I'm looking for it. And he was like, "I've always wanted you in PepsiCo. Let me see what I can do for you. Send me your resume." And that was probably a Friday or Saturday. On Tuesday, they were calling me from PepsiCo. She had sent my resume to a person from sales in PepsiCo in Mexico City, and they called me, and I started the process to go to PepsiCo, to come to PepsiCo, to to the sales team. So that's how it started. And then I of course went through all the interviews and meeting all the people. I To be honest, I didn't know what they saw in my resume that was at, at the minimum, anything that they wanted, because it was a position in sales, in the staff, in the sales staff. uh, so it was like,
Maybe it was the way you carried out the human interaction.
yeah,
The
probably,
You
but
haven't asked like back to your bosses or previous bosses what was exactly what you were or why you were selected.
they liked my profile. Yeah, I think I did great interviews, and I always knew that, and I always knew that everything I
Propose to
I
yourself.
needed, no, everything that I needed to change to the sales area was an interview, because that's a hard thing to do, you know, to get an interview when you have a resume from operations. They're gonna toss away the resume if they want someone in sales, no,
Mhm.
instantly. But I knew I was great in interviews, and I know I'm great with people, So, and I'm quite smart and quite good. So I always say to myself, the only thing that I need is an interview. And my friend from recruiting, I think, helped with me getting that interview. But afterwards, it was, I think, like you said, my human interaction and the way I handled the interviews, what got me that job.
The name of the job is Sales and Operation Planning Coordinator.
Exactly. It was a coordination. Like we say here in Mexico in general, in the work environment, it's first you're an analyst, then coordinations, and then manager, and the manager levels.
Okay,
The
so right
manager.
now you are in coordination.
Yeah, right. Back then, yeah.
Or sorry, back then the very first job you got in PepsiCo was coordination. So you
Yeah.
skipped analyst, right?
Yeah, I skipped analyst. Yes, of course, because I was coming from a previous, of course, a previous job. I had certain experience, but actually, in Heineken, when I said I was leaving, they even offered me a manager position. They were like, "No, I don't. We don't want you to leave." But it was one of those choices that you just know what you gotta do. I was like,
Yeah, I
"Thanks."
get it. Regardless of cash or money or
Exactly.
any economical, let's say, incentive. And did you know? You knew for sure
What? Yeah.
that this was the correct, like
Yes.
the correct change.
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay.
I know in my heart that I wanted to go to sales, that I wanted to go to the commercial area, that I didn't want to stay. So when they offered me this position that I told you, know, it meant a promotion for me, you know, and of course it was tempting. Money is always tempting.
Also, more responsibility, more
More
power,
responsibility,
more
exactly,
respect.
exactly. It's all of that, and all of that I took into account. But at the end of the day, I said no. I said like, "Fuck it, no. What I know in my heart is that I want to go here. I wanted PepsiCo. I wanted that position, and I said no. And actually, the funny story or the funny thing is that when I moved to PepsiCo, because of all the incentives they gave me to stay, I ended up earning less money than in Heineken. Like the offer was probably like 5% or 10% less from what I was earning in Heineken back then. Uh,
But I think the I want to understand your set of mind. So I also want to add maybe the changing from Toluca to Mexico City will be alone worth it or not.
Actually, it was part of the decision as well. Toluca, I didn't like it. I don't know a single person that has that has told me or that can tell me that they like Toluca. I don't like the city. Every time I came to Mexico City because it's very close. It's like 40 minutes away from
Yeah, yeah.
Mexico City.
I know it's very common, especially for like people like you that they're from maybe Mexico City or have family, friends, or a couple. They need to go to Toluca, but they go back to the city in the weekends.
Exactly. Actually, yeah, back then I had a boyfriend and he lived in Mexico City. So more more so I was here in Mexico City a lot.
Okay, no, I get it because you need to. It's important to consider always the personal or let's say work life balance
Yes,
because even though the logical, let's say we were talking before, like going to PepsiCo was the best thing because according to your professional life. But I also think we need to consider the personal life. How was your issues? Do you prefer to live in Mexico City, or is it okay for you to be in Toluca in a city that you don't like? So that's also something that we typically don't say or take into consideration, but it's also part of the choice. So I think we gotta say that more. So why are you changing on personal reasons as well?
yes. Actually, it has always you have always to take that into account. You know, and back then I knew it. I knew it in my heart. It was, of course, it was PepsiCo, but also, of course, not working in Toluca. It was,
Yeah, well, it was like two pulses.
yeah,
Only the cash was the only maybe something stopping you, but
yes,
still maybe if you consider like moving back to Mexico, well, now because it's I would say it's a little bit expensive, more
exactly,
expensive in Mexico City, right?
exactly. It's more expensive living in Mexico City.
So that
Yeah,
10% was actually, if you
yes,
account all the change of lifestyle, will be maybe minus 20%.
exactly. At least, and actually, it was minus 10% from my actual salary, but I had an offer of a 20%
Yeah,
increase.
exactly.
So it was a lot of money I was giving up, but I didn't care.
It's great. Actually, I think I want to talk a little bit more before going into the actual like positions and what do they do and how do you have been like increasing on or getting more promotions on the ethics or let's say the part of Heineken, maybe creating beer or maybe in PepsiCo, creating, let's say, not so healthy food. I know you have been working in the healthy part, but how do you cope with that? Do you matter? Do you also take that into consideration, or are you more like a free thinker that you will make the product if people will buy it?
More of the second part, and also, yeah, like I know, of course, a lot of the products that we produce, that we commercialize, are not, the healthiest ones. But there's always this choice that people have, you know, and they can always choose how much to eat, for example, from our products, or drink, or no, or whatever it is. But at the end of the day, we're not we're not gonna it's either gonna be you or another company, if you can put me in that way. You are not changing the consuming patterns. You are not changing, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's either PepsiCo's chips, it's either a Sabritas chips, or they're gonna be a Takis, or because people are gonna be eating them. So from my perspective, or from what I think, is more about, is it gonna be you, or is it gonna be another one? Another person,
Okay,
another company, getting that consumption. But the thing about, changing consuming patterns, or changing deeply, the way people buy or eat or drink, that's not gonna be changed. A company is not gonna change it. You know.
sure.
So that's, and it could be a lot philosophical, but that's government, that's that's education, that's family values, that's a lot of the cultural things, traditions, a lot of things that go deep into a person's soul, that a company is not going to change them. So from my point of view, it's more of, or I think of it as it's either you or another company, like I said.
Okay, okay. I'm more of the like free marketer. Let's say the free market. If they want to,
Yes,
who am I to say no to them? I don't know their consumption patterns. I know for sure there will be people abusing, but if we were so technical, then we will need to say the same into, I don't know, hammers. How do I know the hammer is not going to be used as a lethal weapon? Should I
exactly.
stop making them? So I do understand, and especially with beer, because that's a even, let's say, direct correlation with, I don't know, people that drink and drive. But the problem there is not the actual drink, is the responsibility of people.
Exactly.
So for me, I get it. I know there's a lot of people that will say, no, I could never be in those type of companies. But I don't know, it's, I think you need to make peace with yourself, and if you're happy with what you're doing, and if you're happy in the company, and I don't know. Yeah, it's always, it's, for example, tobacco, or how
Yeah.
say, cigarettes.
Tobacco,
That's,
tobacco.
yeah, tobacco. That's also another one that personally I wouldn't like to go, because I don't like the product. I don't use it. But beer, which technically speaking could be also like numerically or statistically could be killing more people, I will go there. So it's kind of
Yes,
like morals, ethics, and as you said it, the people, or you are not there to educate people. You are there to produce and sell a product, and people will make their choices.
exactly, exactly. But like, actually, I think a little bit like you in terms of going into a tobacco company. I think no. I think that would be, that would
Your
be
limit.
past. Yeah, I wouldn't go. That would be, yeah, crossing the line for me. But for example, beer, or for example, right now that I'm in PepsiCo, we make chips, like potato chips and cookies. Also, we have oats and healthy products in the Quaker business unit.
You
So
got granola bars, right?
granola bars and granola in general. We have cereals, ready to eat cereals, and yeah, oats.
Okay,
Oats
okay.
are I think the most healthy products that we sell. One of the most
Nice.
healthy. Yeah. So
Okay, now
that's one thing that I always I always with what I
get upon,
make.
stumble
Yeah,
upon with people.
yeah, no, exactly, exactly. But another thing as well, because another question that people ask me a lot is, for example, PepsiCo is one of the most like producers of plastic in the world, and
Mhm.
of garbage that ends up in the ocean or whatever, or that gets people fat or diabetes and so and so and so.
Yeah,
But
pollution, CO2. Yeah, I can imagine the list.
exactly, no. But I think, and one of my goals in here in PepsiCo is that if you want to change that, you're not gonna change, for example, that by going on a strike, or by making
Boycott.
or by making a post in Facebook. No,
Okay.
you're not gonna change that by doing that. You're gonna change that by being in the top management and being a responsible CEO, for example, in Mexico, that changes the vision and what PepsiCo is investing in, for the next 7 years, and that's one of the main reason also. I wanna keep growing and keep moving forward here in PepsiCo, to get to a place where your decisions are gonna change literally the world, because changing the world, yes, can be going into Greenpeace, no, joining Greenpeace, or going to the Peace Corps or whatever, but it's also from this side of the business, working from PepsiCo, being the CEO. And like I told for example, it was like 3 years ago that PepsiCo decided we reduce 50% the amount of fat in
Content.
the fat content, in our chips, and 50% less sodium. And for example, there was and we don't talk about it as much. It's not as confidential, but for example, reducing the amount of sugar in sodas, we reduced it a lot. It's not something that we, for example, we tell a lot, because also affects the perception of your sodas. For example, if you make a lot of advertising on the reduction of sugar, people are gonna
People, yeah,
people are gonna say, no, it tastes
different. It's not the
different.
same product.
Yeah, but we're doing it. So that's also one of the reasons I still work here in PepsiCo, because I want to be in the top management, making decisions from within that can actually have a bigger impact in the world than working, for example, in a NGO, or somewhere else where you're only asking for things and not doing anything.
Yeah, Ray, let's pass now to the actual structure. You were telling me it was first the analyst, then coordination level, and then management level.
Yes.
So how do you manage? Yeah, of course, I know that being like great and making good deliveries, but some tips for, let's say, young engineers, because of all my peers, you are one of the top, let's say, most promoted engineer, or let's say colleague that I know, that literally I could say that you are an example on climbing the famous corporate ladder. So what are your tips, or how do you do it? What do you think is what you are doing great?
I think probably three things. Like you said, delivering. That's, for me, it's like, the door to opening that ladder that you were talking about. That corporate ladder. The first thing you got to do is deliver. You cannot grow or expect to grow by doing the other things that I'm going to tell you about if you don't deliver. You have to deliver great results always. No? The
Mhm.
other thing I would say is networking. Always have sponsors, always do your networking, always. And it also relates actually to the always delivering, because when you always deliver, when you always do a great presentation, when you always do great results, when you only have great results, when you whatever, people notice. You never know who is in that room where you're presenting whatever project it is, or whatever thing it is, initiative or whatever. You never know who's there, and you never know who's watching or listening. So yeah, also, but do your networking. Try to get to know the leaders. Always ask for feedback. That the networking is key. I didn't know that before, but think it's one of the most important advices I would tell anyone, who wants to be successful, because it's not enough. And anyone, if anyone says that only delivering you're gonna get promotions, it's bullshit. It's not true. You gotta deliver, of course, but you gotta know the people.
Oh, yeah.
You gotta be known. You gotta have friends and have people that are gonna want to help you as well. Because delivering, yeah, but probably nobody knows about how about what you're delivering, you know.
Yeah.
In sales it's very evident, probably, no, in sales. But in other positions, for example, if you don't sell your work, no one's gonna know about it, probably. And that also relates to another advice, that is going for that extra mile. Always an extra mile. If they ask you of doing this presentation, for example, or initiative or whatever, don't just do it. Do it like the best way you can. Always wow the audience, your boss, your whatever, you know. So it's not just delivering 100%, it's delivering 110 all the time.
Gerardo, I know that you work a lot personally, but would you consider like a workaholic, or only when you had to, or in general, would you say that you are so precise that you work the needed time and that's it?
I Yeah, I would consider myself a little bit of a workaholic, but because I like it, and also I know my limits, and I know my priorities. For example, just to tell you an example, no, the day before yesterday, yeah, the day before yesterday, I had a toast with a couple of friends that we were starting a new business, and so we had a toast, and I had to leave work at 5, and that's very very early for me, and but I did it, you know. Or
Mhm.
if I wanna go on a vacation, of course I'm gonna take the day. I'm not like that workaholic that is always there, that is always working. No, no, no. I know when to do it, but I like it. That's why I
Yeah.
consider myself a workaholic.
And I know you balance very properly your personal life and your work life, because when you go on vacations, you go on vacations. So yeah, that speaks also great for you, because your peers, especially your bosses, will understand that you need to have a life balance. Because I think, of course, you can find some type of bosses that will expect that you are always there for the company, but I think nowadays, especially in companies like PepsiCo, that it's getting into this new trend of respecting the employees and making more of a suitable, enjoyable workplace. I think bosses are understanding that, of course, I want my employee or my all my let's say teammates or collaborators happy and going on vacations, because they will get back and work as twice as they were doing. So what do you think on that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. Definitely true. But I would also tell you one thing. As you go up on that corporate ladder, you're expected to always be there more. You know? Because
Okay.
because because
Responsibility is proportional.
yeah, you start to handle responsibilities that, yeah, of course you can be on vacation, but there are always decisions that need to be done, and your responsibilities are quite big, or start to get quite big, to be disconnected entirely. So I think it's both. No, it's both. Of course, having that, but being aware that as you go up that corporate ladder, it's not that you're expected to be there, but it's something that you will encounter, that you probably have to take a decision. And it's not like it's not from that point of view. When you go up that corporate ladder, working is not going into the computer and downloading the excel and and working like really
Mm.
no, it's taking decisions. And that's why they pay you, no, the big bucks when you go up the corporate ladder. And but you still have to make those decisions, because those decisions need to be taken sometimes when you're on vacation. You just need to sometimes not work like really the Excel, like go and make these PowerPoint presentations. No, when you're on vacations and you're really in a leadership position, it's more about doing
It is.
decisions,
Okay,
taking
okay.
taking decisions, and that's working. But sometimes decisions need to be taken when you're on vacation, no, and that's
That's
also
fine.
one thing. Yeah, exactly.
But it's not the same making decisions rather than actually making reports at jobs or
Exactly. So that's the thing. But that's also a thing that changes over time. No, when I started as a coordinator, I was making a lot of reports and doing a lot of things. Right now, my position, for example, is mostly about taking decision and asking of people to do something that needs to be done, or how it needs to be done.
okay.
So the work changes, the responsibilities changes, they change, sorry, and also the work, or what you call work, changes over time as well.
Okay, I get it. So, Jerry, I want to ask you of all the jobs I see or the or job positions that you have here in PepsiCo, which one would you say it's was the one that determined your career? Let's say, I don't know, maybe the first one because you changed, or maybe was it the commercial strategy management, or the moment that they accepted you as a senior account manager in Quaker, or right now?
Mm. They have all been very important, and also because it's been a very quite fast transitioning.
Pace. Okay.
Yeah, because it's I've been in PepsiCo for 5 years now, and this is my fourth
Fifth,
position.
fourth,
Fourth, yeah. I started as a
coordinator.
planning coordinator, then commercial strategy manager,
Oh, okay.
and then yeah, it changed the name, no, commercial, and then the key account manager for Walmart, for the Quaker business, and right now for the salty snacks business and checkouts for Walmart as well. But I probably would say um, the key account managing for probably
That's
for
what was the game changer for you.
yes, yes.
Okay, and let us know more on that because we have been talking about a lot, but we haven't talked about actually what you do, what's the name of the position you're currently doing, and well, essentially what I'm reading here, and I want to read it for the audience is Walmart Senior Key Account Manager, Sarritas and Lays, depending on the country you are, checkouts and confectionery. What's essentially okay, as I can understand, of course, you're in Walmart, so probably working on Walmart. Senior key account manager means that probably you're making the big shots regarding Sabritas or Lays. But what's that on checkouts and confectionery? Let us know overall. What do you do?
Yes. So overall, I'm the key. Like my title says, I handle, or I'm the key account manager for all the Walmart, regarding the Walmart business for PepsiCo, for the Sabritas business unit. Regarding in Walmart, there are two different areas, very important areas. One is the aisle, what we call the aisle. That is the things you find in the, for example, in the salty snacks aisle. When you go into this hallway where you find all the potato chips, Doritos, whatever. But also, I handle the business of PepsiCo foods in the checkout, which is a very important point for us, interaction point with the shopper, because it's that point when you're about to pay, that you're at the last part of your trip to the supermarket, that you decide to, yeah, okay, I'm gonna give myself a treat because I'm tired from doing all this shopping, and I'm gonna give myself a treat with this little bag of chips, or with this little cookie, or that's a huge part of our business, and I handle both of the businesses. The salty snacks, which includes nuts and seeds, our nuts and seeds portfolio in the aisle, and also all the checkout strategy. And what I do when you tell about the key account the key account management of Walmart, is literally regarding and everything, all the strategy that goes into Walmart. What is the price strategy that we're gonna have, the portfolio strategy, which products, what sizes, um, with what flavors, with what initiatives, like you have no idea. And of course, also I handle the sales, and I handle also the all the negotiation with for the commercial fees and the money they ask they ask for us, or everything. I negotiate everything regarding the Walmart account for PepsiCo. And just to put that out there, Walmart is the biggest client for PepsiCo and for any food and beverage company in Mexico. Walmart is the biggest client here.
Wow, that's what I was going to ask. Is the Walmart in all Mexico or is it in Latin America?
Walmart is here in Mexico, Central America, Argentina, and Chile. They just sold their business in Brazil, I think last year. So right now they have all these businesses, and Puerto Rico, of course.
Can you let us know a small story or something that you have done? Of course, if it's allowed.
Of a story about what?
Yeah, I don't know, whatever you want to share, something that you have done, something that you have improved. Maybe how do you made something good for PepsiCo? How is it to, I don't know, to be having these bargains or negotiating with clients?
I think one of the most important things that I've learned, and a story I think is quite important for your audience, the importance of negotiation. Because of course I'm in sales. I handle the big buyers, of course, the biggest and most acid and important and buyers here in Mexico, because the best ones and the most aggressive ones are in Walmart. But negotiation is all over your life. You negotiate for your promotion, you're negotiating for your whatever, for your salary increase. You negotiate with when you buy a house, when you buy a car. You're negotiating always. So handling a good negotiation in general is very important, not only, for example, for me as in my job, in my professional job, but in general. It's really getting to 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 get into some of the people's mind and be able to influence in their decision. Yeah, that's probably one important thing, that it's always about the people in general. I would tell you that in sales is very clear. In sales is very evident, because we handle, we talk,
Yeah,
we negotiate with people. We handle millions of dollars, for example, of negotiations. But in
yeah.
general, you negotiate all the time, and you need that skill, and that skill is very important for you to be a successful person here, as in the
Okay.
world.
Yeah, sure. Jerry, do you get like proper training or
Yes.
did you learn, did you check before something on negotiations or do you think it's like inside of you?
No, you have to have something inside of you. There's this natural talent, if you or skill, if you must say so. But of course, there's process, a lot of processes and procedures into negotiation. So we do have proper training, because the great negotiators in the world have proper training. So actually a lot of, right now. I'm in a negotiation training. Right now, these weeks I'm in a negotiation training, and it's very interesting, because even if you don't know it, actually you are getting when you're dealing with a negotiation, if you don't know it, they're probably winning, and they're probably getting inside your
Mm.
head to.
Yeah, they're on one step or more ahead.
Exactly. There are a couple of steps ahead of you, so it's quite interesting, I think. And I think that's very important for you, for everyone to know, that is a very important skill, that is negotiation, of course, but I mean people, being
Mm.
able to influence people's decision. It's very important.
Yeah, that's very important. The marketing sales is like the top thing you gotta do. Of course, having a good product, but there's a lot of good products in the market, then you need to make more of that movement that you say, more get inside of people's minds and try to influence them to make a decision.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, that's
So
very.
Jerry, what's the day to day before COVID? What was the day to day? Did you were on the office in the corporative, or were you going to warehouses?
No, no, no. My day to day, I work in the headquarters in the office here in Mexico City. We are based here in Bosques de las
Santa Fe.
Lomas, in Bosques
Oh,
de las
okay.
Lomas, here in Mexico City. Um, and my day to day would be going there and also going to go to see the client, Walmart.
To have fancy lunch
fancy
or
meetings
not?
fancy meetings with them. Now, well,
Okay,
you cannot have lunch with them because, or you can have lunch with them, but they would pay for their, for example, their stuff.
they're part. Okay,
Yeah, Walmart has a very strict policy on
on taking out
yeah,
clients.
on dealing with suppliers in general. They cannot take a pen. You cannot give them a pen, for example.
Hmm.
That's crazy, but yeah, that's the way it is because of course their decisions are worth
Impact
millions.
a lot.
Yeah, are worth millions of dollars. You have no idea.
For example, the clients that you're talking about, what are the ages? What are the ranges? Are they like seniors or they're like young people?
They're like they have different profiles. For example, if you go to other retailers here in Mexico, if you go to Chedraui or Soriana or other retailers, they're normally aged people, like in their probably 40s, 50s, very experienced people. But the profile in Walmart is very different. They have young people. They're normally like my age, for example, in their 30s, like early 30s or late 20s, depending on the categories they handle. The bigger the categories are, the bigger the position is, or the higher the position is, and the more experience you need. But in general, they're not very
Younger.
young, but they're young, like me, for
Okay, okay.
example.
Okay, Jerry, I don't know if you want to add something else into your like experience in PepsiCo, or what do you think is coming for the future, especially with COVID for you and the company?
Yeah, like right now in PepsiCo in general, I'm very happy. Like I was telling you before, it's a great company. A very one of the benefits or positive things about working for a multinational company so big as PepsiCo is that it's a very solid company. A very solid that can go through this pandemic or this economic crisis and it won't matter. It won't matter as much. Actually, I didn't tell you about this, but I was promoted during COVID. You remember,
Yeah, sure,
I
of
was
course.
I was telling you, I was promoted to this position right now that I have like 2 months ago. So for some of my friends in general, when I told them
It was a
just
surprise
got promoted, they were like, "What?" Like,
in these
"Oh
crazy
my
times.
god, in this crazy everyone is getting fired, everyone is getting their salaries reduced. Like, how come you're getting promoted?" And I was like, "Yeah, because for us, I'm happy to say that for us, of course, these are different times, but the business is solid. The business is solid. The business is growing. The business is still running, and we're gonna be here afterwards. So if something, I think we're gonna come out stronger from from this
From this
pandemic.
pandemic.
Yeah,
That's nice to hear for the company and for you and all the Mexican employees.
yes, yes. Just in Mexico, we have over 40,000 employees. So of course it's consumption, and of course it's like you said, chips and stuff. But it's also a very rewarding company to the society in general, with all the employees that are generated from us.
Actually, I just checked. It's one third of Orizaba population is the total employment of PepsiCo. Okay, Jerry. So let's pass to the quick question and answer section, and hopefully you like it. Those questions. You are the only guest that you haven't read them before, because typically I send this to all the. I'm pretty sure I sent it to you, but I'm confident you didn't open it. But make no worries. I trust you. So, and the idea is to be very quick. if you want to talk specifically on something, we can do it, but try to be quick. Okay.
Okay.
So the first section or subsection is study life. And the very first question will be, what would you add to your bachelor syllabus?
Taxes, probably.
Yeah, I'm also with you.
Yeah, taxes definitely. They never tell you about taxes or how to handle them or how to do it, and you just get into the real world and you're like, what the f with this?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I think we saw a little bit on accounting, but nothing real, and especially nothing on personal taxes.
Exact personal taxes, exactly.
Okay, now underrated stuff in chemical engineering, something that you say it should get more attention.
In chemical engineering itself, not for example accounting or other.
Well, chemical engineering life. So, for example, it could be taxes. Like it's so important that taxes can destroy your business. If you're a chemical engineer, of course, you want to know about it.
Accounting, for example. I think
Okay.
accounting. That,
Yeah,
that,
me
that that's
too.
exactly why I was asking you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I remember going into accounting, and I hated the idea of needing to go to accounting class. And after I finished my accounting class, I was like, wow, everyone should have accounting,
Yes.
regardless of their background.
Exactly.
Okay. So, do you have any favorite engineering or science book?
Not really. Not really. The,
Okay, okay. No, it's fine. It's normal. Yeah, I would say it's pretty normal not to have a engineering book. Maybe you have a book that you hate.
no, no, actually, I like the first yellow one. What was its name?
Himmelblau.
Aha, that one. That one I liked. That one
Yeah,
I
it's
liked.
very nice, pretty neat information.
Yes, yes, yes. That one I like.
Okay. Yari, who is chemical engineering for?
For everyone who wants to be a successful person in the world.
Wow, that's a nice question. You should get hired by Tech de Monterrey for their marketing. Okay, talking about, well, I think you already talked about this, but did you have any subject that you suffer, or what was the worst subject that you had in your student life?
I didn't suffer it, but it was like a real challenge. And actually, one of the biggest achievements for me was the one that we were telling about, transfer
Yeah,
phenomena and
equilibrium thermodynamics.
equilibrium thermodynamics, because especially thermodynamics, equilibrium thermodynamics, because it was so difficult. I don't know if you were with me on that class, but with this professor, he was very very hard, and it challenged my intelligence
Your
a lot,
limits,
my
yeah.
limits a lot, and I got a final grade of, I think it was 94. I remember.
That
and
was great.
and I remember, and I was like, oh my god, like, yeah, I never had a grade that I enjoyed having so much, that because this took me so many hours, so much effort, but I did it.
Okay, okay. Now let's pass to the professional life questions.
Okay.
What would you expect from a chemical engineer graduate? Let's say, I'm pretty sure that you already might be like hiring some
Yes.
candidates. So, what do you expect from them?
I expect from them to quick on their toes. I mean, like, to be like very very out there, to have a lot of confidence in themselves, and I expect them to be honest, quite intelligent in general, smart, not like the brightest people, no, but they're smart, and they know how to solve problems. I'm pretty confident, if when I get a chemical engineering candidate, I know that they're gonna be able to solve the problem that I tell them in a good way.
Okay, nice, nice, nice. So, do you consider yourself a leader?
Yes.
Okay, now the question is how to become a leader.
Yeah, I think you become a leader by knowing how to influence on people, you know? Because there's no you cannot be a leader if no one follows you. And to be a leader, you not only have to be their boss, for example. That's not even a leader for me. So to be a real leader, you have to be you have to be aware and you have to know how to influence on people's feelings, what motivates them, what moves them. So you have to, so you can, like be there and pay attention to that, handle that, and that way you're gonna be able to influence on them, and they're gonna follow you. Not follow you, but they're gonna, you're gonna be their leader. So that's what it is to me.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I also think being a boss doesn't mean that you're a leader.
Definitely.
Okay, this might be funny for you, but I'm in my quest to find someone that actually does. So, how often do you use the Laplace transform?
Like never.
Okay, yeah, I'm still in my quest then. Still, I need to find someone.
That's the best question ever.
Best advice you were given?
That's interesting. Let me think about it. But I think the networking thing that I told you guys about was when I got to PepsiCo, one of the first advices that they gave to me. And it's true. It's definitely true. I didn't want to believe it back then because I always thought to myself, my results are gonna speak for me.
Yeah,
I don't
hard work pays off.
Yeah, my work is gonna pay off. I don't need to do any networking because for me that was like, how do you say in English? Or like I don't
Yeah, but leaking.
about leaking. Yeah, I don't like to do that. But when you understand that networking is not that, it can be, for some people, but and I don't agree with them. But networking is not doing that. Networking is sometimes showing your job to someone else, or it's a lot more deep than just kissing. It's quite more than that, and it's very important. And I'm glad they gave that to me, because even though I didn't believe that in the beginning, I kept it at the back of my mind, because he was a great leader, and I was like, how come a great leader like this is telling me this?
Yeah, it was like counterintuitive. Like, nah, I'm not like that.
Exactly. But then I realized he was, of course.
You were a baby Simba.
Exactly. I was a baby Simba, naive.
Okay, now this can be tricky because I don't think we like remember mostly. But do you have one worst advice? Something that you say, nah, that's definitely not good advice, and it's thrown always to people.
One bad advice that I was given, or
Yeah, yeah. Or maybe that you have heard that you think it's not true. Maybe, for example, I would say if you woke up very early in the morning, you will achieve a lot of things. It's like now you actually need to be productive.
yeah, exactly. Well, probably when they tell you you don't need to I don't know, to overwork and to deliver and stuff. No, you sometimes you do need to
Okay,
if
like to burn out.
Yeah, yeah. No, no, no. You never have to do it. If you do
It,
it, no, no.
life is
Sometimes,
pink.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Sometimes you need to, and sometimes you're gonna know that you have to, because you have this big presentation coming up. And like I told you, a very huge advice I would also say is like presentations and things that where big people are gonna be. You need to burn out. you need
Yeah,
you need you need to stay
to
until
show
it,
them,
yeah,
show them.
because you don't get that many chances, so you
Mhm.
gotta make them count.
Okay, let's pass to the random facts. The very first one is coffee, tea, or energy drink in order to get active at the workplace.
Coffee, definitely.
Okay, black coffee,
Black coffee.
latte,
Black coffee.
black,
I don't like to add sugar. I don't like to add anything
no
to my
cream.
coffee.
Okay,
Nothing.
okay. I know that you have a lot of hobbies, but do you have any hobby that you want to develop?
Right now, recently I started playing paddle with my roommates, and it's been quite interesting. I really liked it, and I will probably, once this pandemic is over, I'm gonna take some classes, because I took a couple of them, but then the pandemic came, and but I really enjoyed it. It's like a very cool hobby.
Yeah, yeah. And it's also sports, so it's healthy hobby, cool
Exactly.
hobby for mind and body. So those were the questions I wanted to ask you, Gerardo. I don't know if you want to make a closing statement before we end up the episode.
Yeah, probably one of the biggest things in my career in general was about probably working with my stereotypes. Like I told you, I would have never, if they asked me during my career, no, while I was studying chemical engineering, will you ever work in sales? Like I told you, I would have said like, no way. I'm not suffering this much in my career to end up in sales. But I would say, or advice of mine would say, never, or work with your stereotypes. Don't have any stereotypes, because sometimes those things that you say, no, I will never do that, or I will never like that, are probably what you'll end up working in, that, and they're gonna be your passion. Because for me, like I told you, I would have never guessed that I would end up working in sales. And right now I'm a very, like you told me, no, like a very happy, and I consider myself successful person, a very complete, in my professional life. So, yeah, that would be one of the things. Keep your mind open.
Okay, yeah, that's always true. Always be open for new outcomes, new paths.
Yeah.
Always adapt to new things. And sometimes, as you did, Gerardo, you need to embrace the suck of going to a maybe a position which is not that greatly paid, but will eventually have greater fruits or better results in the future.
Yes, of course. Once you go with your passion and with your heart, really, 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 even though I think it sounds corny and stuff, I changed to PepsiCo, no, and now I'm currently probably the youngest person in my level, in the this position level. And if everything goes right, I will be a director probably next year. No,
No,
if
that's
if
great.
and to be a director in general in PepsiCo of just 31, 32 years, it's very, very, very good. No, so at sometimes, I've been told that, and I want to pass on this advice, no, like they tell you a lot, no, the career is with yourself, and literally it's that way. Sometimes in this line that you want to be, to go always up, sometimes you need to, be go on a straight line, or and then go up again, but always, having your passion and your heart on your decisions, you're gonna end up doing something good that is gonna make you successful in the long term.
Okay, I'm totally with you. And I'm glad for you that you're showing the world who you are and what chemical engineers can do in great companies like PepsiCo.
Yes,
Okay,
definitely.
so that was it, guys. Thank you for joining us, and we will see each other in the next episode. Bye bye. Thanks for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the episode. And before you go, I will really appreciate it if you take the time to share this podcast with your fellow colleagues, classmates, friends, or really anyone that might be interested on the topic of chemical engineering and its related fields. If you found this content helpful and valuable, please consider subscribing, rating, and leaving a review. Thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot.